Let's talk to Neil Clark, a UK-based journalist and broadcaster who's been covering the events in Ukraine extensively. He joins us now live from Oxford in the United Kingdom. Neil, very good to speak to you there. This is a story that's already prompted lots and lots of speculation. What's your feeling from what you've seen and from what you've read? Is this an arrest gone wrong, or is this something more sinister?
I don't think it is an arrest gone wrong. I mean, the old formulaic words, shot dead while resisting arrest. This is a classic cliche used by authorities the world over when they want somebody silenced. And the fact of the matter is that this man was simply surplus to requirements now. The government in Kiev, the so-called government in Kiev, came to power with the help of the right sector. They wouldn't have got to power without the right sector. The right sector was the force that was torching government buildings, that was using the violence to get them into power. And now they've become an embarrassment to them. And so I think that there's two reasons why this has happened. I think, first of all, the new authorities in Kiev want to get the right sector individuals into government security apparatus organisations. They want them to join the National Guard. They want them to lay down their weapons because they're frightened that there will be an alternative force within the country which could threaten them in time. And I think the second reason is the PR angle. I think that it's been an embarrassment to this new government in Ukraine, which is being sold as a wonderfully progressive democratic government, to have these associations with the right sector. And so I think it's time for them. I'm sure there's been phone calls from the EU and the US to the leaders in Ukraine to say, look, you've got to act against people like Mujiko and other right sector leaders. And this is what's happening now. And I think it reminds me a bit of what happened in Nazi Germany, actually, in 1934 with the Night of the Long Knives. Remember when Hitler, having come to power with the help of the SA thugs who were intimidating opponents and using street violence, he then moved against them because he got his orders from the industrialists. So I think that this is not an arrest gone wrong. This is deliberate, and the Ukrainian government will now be trying to eliminate other right sector leaders who don't play by the rules now.
Well, there's a real fear there, isn't there? There could be an escalation here because Muzicko's fellow radical fighters, they've already issued a threat against the country's interior ministry. Are we seeing then an escalation of infighting between forces that came together to oust Yanukovych, do you think?
Yes, I think that what's happening here is that the authorities are making it quite clear in Kiev that the right sector leaders have got a choice. Either they join, either they lay down their arms and become incorporated into the sort of state security apparatus, or they face arrest and being shot. I think this is quite clear, because I think the Western powers have been very embarrassed by this, because Russia today has been great on highlighting the strong neo-Nazi core at the heart of this new government and the way that neo-Nazis have helped it come to power. And it's become a great embarrassment in this sort of propaganda war, really. So Kiev is now, it's phase two. They've come to power with the help of neo-Nazi thugs. Phase two is eliminating those neo-Nazi thugs now that their job has been done, so to speak.
How do you see the EU and the wider world responding to this if it does turn out to transpire in the way that you're suggesting?
Well, the EU and the West is responsible for a lot of this violence, isn't it? Because it was the EU and the West which backed the violent coup which toppled Yanukovych. And they knew full well that in order to topple Yanukovych, they would need the help of the right sector and their violence. And so the EU, it's no good if the EU come out and say how shocked they are by this and the assassinations, etc. The EU are responsible for a lot of what's going on in Ukraine. And I'm afraid I'm very worried about the future of Ukraine, because it could descend now into civil war. We could have this right sector fighting back against the government. And again, it's the West's meddling in the internal affairs of a sovereign country which has caused all this disruption. And who knows what lies ahead in the next few weeks and months. But it's quite clear that the government in Kiev doesn't have overall majority support in the country, and they've got this problem now of the right sector, this sort of Frankenstein's monster, which they've created, which they've helped, and which has helped them come to power. They've now got the problem of the monster and what to do with it.
Neil, thank you very much for your time. Appreciated as always. That's journalist and broadcaster Neil Clark, live from Oxford in the United Kingdom.